The PlayStation 2 had thousands of games in its library. Everyone remembers the classics like Final Fantasy X, God of War, and Kingdom Hearts, but what about the games that tried something totally different? Hey, it's CT, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at some of my favorite underrated games for the PlayStation 2 and why these games mattered back then when they released and why they still are interesting to me today. I missed out on a lot of games years ago and I finally got a chance to go back and play some of these games that have been in my backlog, so I'm excited to share my experiences with you guys. I think that every game here was ahead of its time in some way.
Draw your sword now.
That was rather childish.
Okay, so let's start off with .hack Infection. This game predicted the MMO space and it has a deep commentary on what it felt like to be online in the early 2000s. .hack Infection was developed by CyberConnect 2 and released in 2003 in America. And the premise of .hack is really interesting. You're playing as a kid named Kite, and he's logging on to an MMO called The World. But the crazy part is that you're not actually playing an MMO, but you're playing a single player game that simulates what it feels like to play an MMO. The character designs feel straight out of Fooly Cooly or Evangelion, and they are, thanks to Yoshiyuki Sadamoto. The game is very conceptual. You've got infection, mutation, outbreak, and quarantine. And your save file is carried throughout all 4 games. And it's really cool because the games release like 3 months apart, but altogether it's one big RPG. The gameplay is dungeon crawling with AI teammates, but the hook isn't really the combat, it's everything around it. The game really sold you on the illusion that these AI party members like Black Rose were real people that logged in with you. And when you log out of the world, you're dropped into this fake operating system called Ultimate OS. And this is where you check emails, browse forums, and this is where fake players theorizing about the game's mysteries will be. This is like a way for players to see the incidents that are happening in the world in real time. Now, here's where .hack gets pretty crazy. In the world, there's these corrupted monsters, and when they attack players, those players fall into comas in real life. So your friend Orca that invited you into the game gets attacked in game and ends up in the hospital. And this happens early on in the game. And as the game goes on, more incidents occur. Kite is the only one that can stop it, and he uses this ability called Data Drain. This is the same ability that these corrupted monsters are using to send players into a coma, and you have to use it to stop the enemies. This was 2002. This was before World of Warcraft, before anime like Sword Art Online. This was before social media, and .hack was asking what happens when lines between game and reality start to blur, and what happens when digital trauma feels just as real as physical trauma. What really brings us home is the character Aura. Uncovering mysteries about the world and who Aura actually is, this is where .hack stops becoming just an MMO game and becomes something else entirely. This game predicts how AI could develop consciousness by absorbing emotional data from millions of players. In 2002, this was just pure sci-fi, but now in 2026, we're living in this reality. In the era of the early 2000s, I'm sure this felt like just a really cool concept for a game. I know that because I remember growing up where the internet was just a singular place that you would go in your home, and now it's everywhere. In every single room that you live in. The concepts behind the world in .hack is everywhere in real life as well. Like, we form real communities on Discord. We have entire relationships that only exist online. The game predicted how humans would use AI. Like, it's really crazy. .hack had a lot of next level ideas, and the fact that it's a multimedia universe is really cool. I started off with .hack Sign, the anime. It's the best way to start with this series. It's really cool because .hack wasn't just a video game, it was an anime, a manga. There's so many moving parts about .hack that go into the world building that not many games have. I'm honestly really glad I missed this growing up because all of these concepts that this game throws at you would have went right over my head. But yeah, playing through it was super awesome. I just treated it like a place I would go to visit before going to sleep, and I'd play for a few hours for weeks on end, and it was really atmospheric and I enjoyed the story, the themes, and the dungeon crawler gameplay. I'd recommend this game a lot more if it was an actual modern way to play it, but as of right now, it's stuck on the PlayStation 2. But at the end of the day, the world of Dot Hack is worth exploring for yourself. So now I want to talk about one of the most stylish games on the PlayStation 2. Musashi Samurai Legend was published by Square Enix in 2005, and it's the direct sequel to Brave Fencer Musashi from the PS1. And that original game was ahead of its time. It had day-night cycles, ability absorption. Squaresoft was definitely experimental with the PS1 Musashi game, and I think it's one of the best PS1 games, period. The sequel here, it doesn't have the same depth of the original. It's missing some of the systems that made it great, but what it does have is Tetsuya Nomura cooking on character designs and a sick art style. A lot of the Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy visual language lives here in this game. The game opens with an insane intro animated by Gainax. The whole thing feels like a playable anime intro. All of the unique abilities that this game has, like the carrying NPCs and throwing them into the air, cool boss fights, they're all shown in the intro, and they're here in the game. Musashi has 2 swords, he's got a quick katana, and then he's got a heavy blade, but the real hook is that you can steal enemy techniques. In this game, to steal abilities, you have to lock on, and then you wait until the animation is finished, and then suddenly their attack becomes yours. It's a really risky move, but it makes it worth it. I love doing it, seeing what type of abilities that you would get next. Combat isn't super technical or deep, but there's something satisfying about the rhythm to baiting attacks, absorbing techniques, and slowly building them up. I found more challenge here than I have in most modern action games. The levels and worlds that you explore here are varied, and visually they still look great, even over 20 years later. As a kid, I couldn't get the ability stealing mechanic down. It was a really weird gap, so I gave up. But one thing I do remember is the soundtrack. It's absolutely beautiful. It starts with this surf theme by the Surf Coasters. You've got these really cool techno instrumentals that play throughout the game. They're really dreamy and retro and fit the game's vibe for sure. You spend a lot of time in the main hub city of Anthium, and honestly, the hub in this game, it's gorgeous. It captures this feeling of hope and optimism. It feels like a safe place that's outside of the industrial atmosphere that dominates the rest of this game. Thematically, the game is split into 2 different worlds. On one hand, you've got a samurai game with Musashi. Then you've got corporate industrial technology taking over. Like Musashi to me represents being free-spirited. And then you've got the Gandrake Enterprises. And this is a corporation that's literally draining the world's life force to power their machines. Gandrake is all about control and efficiency, and then you've got Musashi, and he's all about self-expression, right? The game's aesthetics back up on these themes. It's retro meets future. It's clash of old and new. Even if you don't play the game, the music and the art style are sick. There's one elephant in the room though.
That's right.
Musashi's voice acting is comically bad. There was times where I would just stop and just be like, they really listened to this and said, yeah, keep it in.
Laugh it up while you can. You don't have long.
It's pretty rough.
Not good.
At the end of the day, Musashi Samurai Legend is definitely style over everything else. And this soundtrack will live in my playlist forever. And honestly, this is an underrated PS2 gem that deserves way more love than it gets. So now we're going to talk about probably the weirdest game that I have to show to you guys today. I want to talk about Killer 7. Killer 7 released in 2005 and was directed by Suda51. Before we even go into what this game actually means, I want to tell you what this game feels like to play. So in Killer 7, you're not really in control. The game puts you on rails. So you press a button to move forward and you press another button to turn around. And that's it in terms of moving around in this 3D space. You're choosing directions at intersections. It feels wrong, like you're being guided through someone else's nightmare. The art style is just as strange. Everything in this game is cel shaded with really harsh colors. It's bright blood red against cold whites and blacks. It doesn't try to look realistic at all. The game is designed to make you feel uncomfortable and the world feels dark. And then you hear it, that laugh. The enemies here are called Heaven Smiles. They're invisible until you scan for them. They announce themselves with this maniacal laugh, and when you shoot them, they explode into showers of blood and sparks, but that laugh like genuinely creeped me out while playing this game. The whole experience is disorienting. It's deliberately alienating. Like, most games try to make you feel powerful. Killer 7 makes you feel like a weapon that someone else is pointing. The conflict is strange. You play as Harmon Smith, but Harmon isn't just one person. He's got 7 different assassin personalities, and each one represents a different face of American power. There's Garcian Smith, the normal one, the cleaner who literally erases evidence. Then you've got Dan Smith, loud, aggressive. Then you've got Cade Smith. She can spill her own blood to reveal hidden truths. Then you've got Coyote Smith, the thief, breaking into places he doesn't belong. Then you've got Con Smith, pure speed and recklessness, moving fast without thinking. Then you've got Mask DeSmith, a luchador, just brute forcing, destroying everything in his path. And then you have Kevin Smith, the invisible one, the assassin that you never see coming. So each killer is a different type of violence, a different tool in Harmon's arsenal. And Harmon uses all of them. That's the point. Like, he's not one thing, and American power isn't just one thing. Your enemy is Kun Lan, who controls the Heaven Smile terrorist organization. But here's the thing, they're not really enemies. They're actually old friends. Without Kun Lan sending the Heaven Smile, Harmon has pretty much nothing to do in this game. Without Harmon trying to stop him, Kun Lan has no challenge. The game is basically asking, what if the whole point isn't to win? What if enemies need each other? Because the conflict itself is what keeps everything running. This came out in 2005, and for some context, this was post 9/11. Everyone was scared, paranoid, and Suda51 made a game about the violence that we don't usually talk about. The way we turn people into others, the system we just accept. Critics didn't really know what to do with this game. It's weird, it's political, the controls are really hard to get into, but in my opinion, that's the point. And Killer 7 doesn't hold your hand. It wants you to sit with the discomfort that it brings you, to actually think about what you're doing in this game. This game definitely sparked the games as art conversation, even way back when it released, and people were literally debating about whether games should even be art. And here we have Suda51 making something that refuses to just entertain you. And honestly, players are still figuring out what this game is about 20 years later. In my opinion, that's what good art does. That's what Killer 7 proved games could be. I hope I didn't give too much away about Killer 7, but I think this one's really worth experiencing for yourself.
Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
For the next game, I want to talk about a game that I remember briefly from my childhood that no one else played. Like, I never met anybody else that played this series personally, but online it seems like a lot of people did play this game and had a good experience with it too. And that game is Dark Cloud 2, developed by Level 5 and released in 2003. Before they made Professor Layton and Ni no Kuni, they made Dark Cloud. So yeah, I played this game a lot as a kid, and I recently went back to it and I had a blast. It improved on the first Dark Cloud in pretty much every way. The story is straightforward. You play as a kid named Max, and he loves building stuff. Then you've got Emperor Griffin, and it's this evil guy that wants to erase the future and rebuild it his way. And then you have Monica, my personal favorite character in the game, and she's from the future, and she's basically fighting to preserve her timeline because she's seen what happens if Griffin wins, so she's here to help. But here's where Dark Cloud 2 gets interesting. So this game is a dungeon crawler, but also a town builder. It's got photography, fishing, it's got this golf minigame, an invention system, time travel, amazing cel-shaded graphics that still look great today. It's ambitious. When it released, it seems like people didn't know how to market it. Is it a Zelda clone? Is it a sim game? Is it an RPG? Dark Cloud 2 is all of those things. So let's focus on the diorama system. In this game, you will explore dungeons, find geostones, and use them to literally build towns from scratch. You weren't just saving the world in the dungeons, but you were also creating your own world in the town building system. So there's also this photography system where Max takes pictures of objects, enemies, items, and buildings. Then you combine these ideas to invent new weapons. So you're not buying gear from shops, you're inventing it by observing the world around you. And I think that's just super cool. So the weapon system in this game is your weapons, they level up, not your characters. So you synthesize items into your weapons to boost the stats, build them up into stronger forms. And any weapon can become in-game viable. I spent hours perfecting builds in this game to see what I could come up with, and Dark Cloud 2 understood that creation is just as compelling as destruction. Most games are all about tearing down enemies and bosses. Dark Cloud 2 was totally different. This was before Minecraft and Animal Crossing, before I played those. The whole game is really about respecting history, building, and understanding that the present shapes the future. And I feel like that's why Dark Cloud 2 is one of the most underrated games on the PS2. So Dot Hack, Musashi, Killer 7, and Dark Cloud 2, they're all totally different games, but they all took creative risks in their own way, tried something different, and they are flawed games, but I thought that my experiences with these games were worth sharing with you guys. So before commenting that I missed your favorite game in today's video, just keep in mind that more of these videos will be coming out in the future. So my question for you guys is, which one did you play, and what other PlayStation 2 games deserve this kind of video? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, I appreciate you guys watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.